Consequence Podcast Network.
This episode brought to you by
Nick B.
Nick B, fun fact, he likes oatmeal raisin cookies better than chocolate chip cookies.
That is gross.
No. Oatmeal raisin cookies are delicious. Counterpoint.
Make a tape.
Oatmeal chocolate chip cookies.
I like oatmeal
That's
chocolate chip
where it's
cookies.
at.
Yeah. When I grab an oatmeal chocolate chip cookie and it turns out upon the first bite to be an oatmeal raisin cookie, why is this cookie healthy? Get it away from me. This episode also brought to you by
Ryan. I am super grateful for Ryan because Ryan
Yeah.
told me about this new kind of yoga mat and I bought it and it's awesome and I love it forever. It's so
Ooh,
cool.
Jen, what kind of yoga mat?
An Echo Light. It's so
Oh,
cool.
I don't know
Yeah,
that.
it's awesome. It's a little thicker than I'm normally used, but it doesn't stick to my feet. It's amazing.
The worst thing in any like hot yoga situation is when your mat's like,
Right.
you don't want it to sound like you're having sex.
And Ryan also told me about this free podcast called Free Yoga Download, which
Ooh.
has free 20-minute yoga
Oh.
at all levels, and it's awesome. So
Well,
thank
that
you,
sounds
Ryan.
amazing. This episode also brought to you by Matt.
Matt.
Borka.
Matt wants us to do fun Swedish facts. So our Swedish fact today is that Sweden was the first country to ban spanking by parents.
Ooh, good for you, Sweden.
So corporal or physical punishment in all forms is banned in Sweden, including parents' right to spank their children. Sweden implemented the law prohibiting the use of corporal punishment on July 1st. Guess what year?
1980.
Oh, close, Jen. Mikey, what do you think?
1990.
1979.
Oh, so close.
Yeah, you were so close. So they became the first country to implement such legislation. Soon, Sweden's neighbors, Finland and Norway, followed and enacted similar laws.
Nice copycats. But
I know, right?
I'll allow it because it's for a good cause.
Do your own shit. And I just want to point out that it's spanking by parents. Consensual spanking is still very much allowed, and I believe encouraged, but don't check me on that. We now return you to another episode of The Patreonicals.
So Matthew, Kate, Miggy Mac have made it to Myrtle Beach, and it's like abandoned, except
Okay.
Miggy Mac sees that by the beach there's a submarine surrounded by robots.
Oh my God, is it the submarine from before?
It is a submarine from before.
Oh my God!
When was there a submarine?
It was a long time ago, Jen. Oh my
I'm
God.
lost.
We're talking like
Okay.
December.
Oh, that's right. That's right. After the plane full of koalas.
Yes,
I think.
it was so
Okay,
long ago.
I gotcha.
And Matthew is like, I feel it that I need to get inside that submarine. And Miggy Mac's like, me and the koala will go in there with you, and we will cover you with our guns and stuff, me and this koala bear.
Nice. Okay, cool.
And then Kate, who was dropped off mysteriously by lights in the sky, was like,
Right.
I will fight the robots so you guys get inside with my telekinesis.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So she goes down and she starts fighting all the robots with her telekinesis and tearing up and draws them away. And Matthew, Miggy Mac, and the koala bear go in, and then they go into the submarine. And they're like, what is going on? Like, what is going on? And they see two tiny chairs like Emperor Palpatine. They slowly turn around the chairs, and they're like, Matthew, welcome.
Oh, no.
We've been waiting for you. It's,
What?
It's Chippendale, the Rescue Rangers.
No! Oh my God.
Oh my gosh. I
Oh
thought
my
they
God.
got run over at some point. I'm glad
Jen,
to know they faked their
I
death.
know, exactly.
They're horribly scarred and cybernetic.
Oh my God. They're cybernetically enhanced Chippendales.
Oh. They've got chips for real now?
Yes.
Microchips.
Microchips in Dale.
Dale changed his name to Dell, but he
Dell.
changed it back. Yeah, so it's Chip
Chippendale?
and Dell.
To
Yeah.
Dell.
So it's Chip and Dell Rescue Rangers now.
Microchips and Dell.
Because it is copyright free if it's Chip and Dell.
That's right.
Slowly, Chip and Dale say, you should have killed us when you had the chance.
Oh no.
I mean, he thought he did.
Yeah. You cut back to Mammaltopia, and there's a big battle going on. Isaac has now ordered the front gates, and there's like a moat and a bridge across to the front gates to be
Right.
welded open, like with cutting torches.
I'm sorry, wait, they're supposed to be welded open?
Well, they're going to use cutting torches to cut the door open.
Oh, okay. They're just going to cut
Okay.
through it. Okay.
They attach a welding torch arm on Tristram, the robot cyborg.
That makes sense.
Terminator.
Cool.
And he's like, go, Tristram arm,
Yep.
which is also copyright distinct or free of any sort of copyright. So he can, like from a long distance, open the door.
Yes. Well, so then he's leading a party of people to go tear down the door. They're heavily armed people. It's like an attack. It's like a whole attack. And then there's all like background battle stuff going on. So Isaac orders that. Tristram's going up there. Michael was like, I think I need to go like the Thunderdome because their biggest warriors aren't here. We're not getting as much resistance as we thought. I think Thunderdome might be under attack. And Isaac agrees and sends Michael back to Thunderdome.
Interesting. Okay.
So Eddie was like, I don't want to do this, but we've got to keep the walls up. So he basically sends out a couple of 100 lemmings
No.
with grenades on them.
What?
Oh my God.
Oh, geez. This is getting dark.
And they
This
jump
is getting
over the
real
wall.
dark.
They just jump over the wall and they jump over the wall and they bomb the hell out of those people trying to open the door.
They're lemming suicide bombers?
Yes.
This is what happens when your rescue rangers turn to the dark side.
I know.
This is the world
Yeah.
we're living in now.
Eddie didn't want to do it, but the lemmings were like, we've got to save the town.
Well, really what happened is one lemming thought of the idea and the rest of them just followed.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
You're like, ooh, popcorn over here.
The only one of the Mad Max forces that are left is Tristram. He walks out. His torch arm is a little broken, and all the other cutting torches have been lost in the explosions.
Okay.
So that's where we're gonna leave it this week.
So that's all fucked up.
It's a dark middle chapter.
Yeah, this is very much Empire Strikes Back in the saga of the Patrioticals. So is Matthew and Miggity Mac going to have to fight Chip and Dale? Will Isaac build a memorial statue to honor the lemming sacrifice? What will Michael find at Thunderdomington? Find out next week on another episode of The Patrioticals. This episode finally brought to you by Chris.
Aw.
Hey, Chris. Chris just wants you to know that you're not alone and that we hear you and we see you, even though
Yes.
it might feel like everything is really scary right now. And every time you check the news or you check social media, there's some new crazy thing that you didn't know you could get upset about, but now you're upset about that too. And if you want to talk about any of this stuff, join the Facebook group and, you know, everybody's kind of sharing their feelings. But there's also like a lot of lighthearted, like kind of escapist talk there too. And thank you, Chris, for always reminding us because I think it's easy to forget that,
It is.
you know,
Yeah,
and I
absolutely.
think, but it's always true. You know, there's somebody there that wants to listen and wants to be there for you, you know.
Son of a bitch! The computer's gonna blow up the theme music.
This movie was insane.
Hey guys, check out the theme music that's coming. Oh no, it's getting closer. Oh, what are we going to do about this theme music that's coming faster and faster? Oh no.
I don't think she liked the movie.
Me either.
Welcome to the Horror Virgin, everybody. I'm Jen.
Mikey.
And I'm the Horror Virgin Todd, which means I don't like scary movies and you guys make me watch them. And this week you really didn't. You sort of made me watch a movie called DeepStar Six.
That's right, yeah. But Mikey intended us to watch DeepStar 8, but we got...
Basically laid out like 4 ridiculous underwater like science fiction horror movies, and I was like, Jen, pick one. All of these are really dumb and I can't wait.
Well, I honestly think she picked the right one because it was really dumb and I can't wait to talk about it. I watched it for the first time last night. Have you guys seen this movie before?
I had never heard of this movie until Mikey
Same.
laid out a bunch of bonkers
Same.
aquatic horror for us to watch. And I was like, oh, that guy was in My Two Dads. Let's do that one.
I think I've seen this movie like once as a child.
Yeah, as you were watching it, and Todd and I had already watched it, you texted and were like, I thought Peter Weller was in this movie.
Yeah. And you
Like,
literally said,
no.
I think we're watching the wrong movie. And I was like, well,
Right.
we've already watched it. And it's because you told us to.
Right.
It's just because those late 80s like underwater horror films all kind of meshed together.
Yeah, if it's not The Abyss, they're all the same movie to me.
Right.
Right.
So I'm not mad about it. I enjoyed my experience with this film.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, yeah, I didn't hate it.
Yeah, me either.
Well, maybe I did.
I needed something I didn't super care about in this unprecedented time.
Yeah, I definitely agree.
I
It was-
mean-
it was a nice break from heavy subject matter for sure. Yes.
Yeah, I just wish it had been interesting and that I cared about what happened.
It was interesting. That one guy accidentally kills the whole crew.
Okay, now that is the part that I like.
Snyder all kind of fucks up the entire
dude.
movie.
Yeah.
Like the world. He blows up 2 nuclear weapons.
Yeah.
Yeah, he kills every fish.
This movie's real dumb, and I really liked it.
Yeah, same.
It's definitely a Mikey movie because it's like basically you playing with your toys come to life.
Mikey, you say that a lot when you talk about the movies, and I just really want to see like the basket of toys you had as a child.
Oh, man.
Because I definitely didn't have a Dune-style monster, and I feel like the monster in this movie looks like Dune.
I thought Tremors. That's what I
Oh,
kept
fuck,
feeling.
Tremors too. Yeah, absolutely. This should be in the Tremors universe, Jen.
I know.
This is a Tremors prequel.
Oh my God, I am on board for
maybe.
this. And because of the nuclear blast, it drove the Tremors on land, and now they just swim through land now and not the ocean. Boom. We figured it out, guys.
We did.
fucking
Yep.
figured it out before we
You're
even
welcome,
started the
everyone.
movie.
Basically, I was obsessed with the Abyss as a kid.
Oh, I loved The Abyss. Same, yeah.
And my parents got me this huge set of underwater submarine Legos.
Wow, okay. Okay, cool,
That's
cool.
cool.
So, like, this is definitely something that would happen with that.
That sounds cooler than this movie.
And I bet, Mikey, you had like these patriarchal-esque underwater adventures when you were a kid. And I wish that we like had those transcripts of you playing so we could make that a movie. Because that
That
sounds
would be
like it would
cool.
be fucking dope and much better than this movie.
And better writing for sure. Better character development.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
8-year-old Mikey banging your toys together would be much better than this movie.
Mom would like sit and watch me because I would do like the voices and everything and sound effects.
Oh
She would
my
just sit.
God.
She would just sit and watch me and be like, "Oh my God."
Mikey, this
Yeah.
makes so much. All I want to do is talk to your mom right now. Can we get your mom on the podcast? I have so many questions.
That's my problem with it. It's just I wanted a lot more monster. You know, I feel like we see it so little. Like there's a lot of stuff in this movie that I just don't care about.
Oh,
you know?
you mean when it first attacks the people in the submersible bulldozer, and they said, "Oh my God, look at the size of that thing," and then they
I
don't
know.
show us what they're seeing? Yeah.
Yeah, for like
Yeah.
45 minutes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
some say they stole that idea from Jaws.
Yeah,
of not
they
showing
just
the
forgot
monster.
to do it well.
They forgot to show something that was actually scary.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Because it looks like a sandworm from Dune or like Tremors. It looks like that, right?
I feel like a better paced version of this movie I would have really dug because there is a so bad it's good element to
Yes,
it.
I think that too.
But it
Absolutely.
this thing felt like 5,000 years long, and I kept pausing it to see how much there was left.
Yep.
And I was like, Corey, I'm gonna have to take a nap for 5 minutes because I cannot. I'm so
Yeah, you're going to
tired.
power nap halfway through it.
I also love that I never really knew like what the purpose of these people were or this station. And I was like,
Yeah.
so they
Yep.
just have a bunch of nuclear weapons? Like, what are they doing? Like, what are they building?
Yeah, it's just for evil. You know.
Or Jen, the American government is what that was for. But yeah, I mean, yeah, tomato. I get it.
Right,
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah.
You can't see the weighing motion I'm making. Yeah.
And like, I didn't really understand. Like, it would just like cut to different people in a different room. And I'm like, are they in the same submarine or is it a different submarine?
I know. I was trying to like write it down, and I was like, teeny tiny
I
submarine,
know.
slightly bigger submarine. Now
I just made
they're-
up ridiculous names because no one ever like says anyone else's like
Name.
location. So like,
Yeah.
well, no, they
Yeah.
do sort of say their names, but later in the movie. So I have like these bonkers names for people in my notes.
Was DeepStar 6 the main base or is
Yes.
that the missile sled?
No,
I think
missile
DeepStar
sled.
5 is the missile sled.
Yeah.
And then DeepStar 2 is the remote thing.
No, DeepStar 2 was the bathroom, Jen.
But like, why would you call them all the same thing? They're named like the Thunderbirds. It's like an airplane. Like
I know.
Uh,
a nuclear missile does not need the same name as your place where you sleep.
Exactly.
That could
you
get
those
confusing in a
confused
very bad
easily.
way. Yeah. But let's just get
Right.
into this fucking movie. Let's just talk about it.
Okay.
All right. So we start with the TriStar thing.
Yes, we
the
do.
little opening.
And
which
Carol Co.
Yeah, I didn't notice that one, but
Jen, fun fact about Carol Co. They're the same company that did Terminator 2.
that's where I recognize
Yep.
it. 'Cause I taped Terminator 2 off USA, and I watched that thing over and over and over
I
again.
mean, they
and
were
I
one of
must
the
have seen that
big
thing
like
many
horror
times.
action studios in the like late 70s, early 80s, and then went bankrupt in the 90s.
Aw,
But
I'm
yeah, they
sorry.
did Terminator 2. That's their big like claim to fame.
Hey, and you know what? That is perfect
Yeah,
cinema.
if you make the perfect movie, just shut your studio down. There's no point in going on.
Exactly.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then they bored the shit out of me with these credits.
These credits were the worst.
I know. Thank you, Mikey. Thank you.
I think underwater stuff is kind of cool sometimes, and I like sharks, so I was down with it. But yeah, I was thinking, I was like, I'm gonna have to argue with him about these credits, guys.
Okay, so confession time. I watched the first half of this movie with my neighbor.
Oh, Mikey, tell me everything. Oh, wait, Mikey, that's terrible because the movie starts with two people in bed and the woman is like clinging on heavily and like about to force a DTR, a define the relationship conversation. Is that when you paused it and you were like, maybe we should watch this alone?
You mean when I named the main character Captain Mikey?
Mikey, no joke. I felt like this was you through the whole movie because A, he wakes up with a woman who is like clinging to him and he's like just trying to get away from her. And then later in the movie, he finds out she's pregnant and he is immediately on board and like, yes, let's have this baby. We're going to make this work. And I was like, that is so Mikey. I was
like, what have I done? I like keep picking these movies that are too close. He's like, girl, I got to get out of this ocean. Oh, I'll raise that baby. Let's name it after the other captain.
Well, he's not a captain. He's just a submarine pilot. But my question, Mikey, is what did you do that made her leave halfway through the movie?
Right.
It was getting late and I've hurt my ankle.
You were like, I've got an early meeting on Sunday, so you have to leave. I gotta.
Right.
It turns out she was not pregnant, so I had to take off.
So you could take off. Nothing but class over here, guys.
Oh, Mikey.
Nothing has happened. I'll let you guys know as soon as something does.
Yeah, you will. I really hope she does not listen.
Yeah.
Although I sort of do. Guys, find Mikey's neighbor online and send her this clip.
Oh my God, don't do that.
All right. So anyway, we do open up on Mikey and his neighbor in bed, and he's trying to like get out of there, right? Mikey's like, oh, I got to go. Or let's just call him Captain Mikey because that's what Mikey called him.
So his name is Craig Evigan.
Yes.
Greg Evigan. And he's from My Two Dads. Did you guys watch that show, My Two Dads?
I did not. No.
I did not know.
So I wrote My Two Dads quite a bit.
Because he does wake up and he's like, this has been real fun.
Yeah. Well, and they're talking about like, they're coming to the end of their rotation on DeepStar 6 or whatever, right?
Yes.
And they're like, they're going to be assigned to other places. And Captain Mikey is like acting like Mikey would and being like, this has been great. I hope you have a great life or whatever. And then the woman whose name I did not know at this point. So she was like
Collins.
Yeah. I didn't know her name at this point, but Collins is like hanging all over Captain Mikey, and like we should stay together.
So how
sort
come
of stuff.
you never got married?
Exactly. Like she is really flirting with the define the relationship conversation.
I remember listening to this scene. I was like, oh my God, what is wrong with me as a child? I became this person.
Now, I do think it's a little out of the blue when she's like trying to lay into this thing. And there's nothing wrong with having those conversations.
No.
And honestly, you should have those conversations. And we're going to find out she's got a good reason for asking those questions.
Yeah. And I think at this point she did know, right, that she was pregnant, right? But he obviously doesn't.
Yeah. But this is one of the first clues that I had that the script of this movie was not great because it was very out of the blue.
I'm sorry. I mean, listen, Jen, I 100% agree with you, but we're 30 seconds into the dialogue of this movie. So, I mean, but it's like quintessential 80s movie that has like a TV plot, It's like not great.
That just goes on for like 45 more minutes than a TV show
The
would.
only difference is Magnum PI isn't there and the women are all not wearing bras. That's the only difference.
Yeah. And Knight Rider is a submarine.
Exactly.
Kit is the car,
yeah,
right?
Kit's the car, yeah. Knight Rider's the name of the show. Neither David Hasselhoff or the car are named Knight Rider.
Michael Knight is the name of David Hasselhoff's
his
character.
name is Michael Knight. Thank you, Michael. I've actually never seen that show, yeah.
I haven't either.
But I do know the voice of Kit in Knight Rider was also the guy who played John Adams in 1776, the musical.
Really?
So, yeah, he was also Mr. Feeney.
Okay, we are getting off track a bit.
Oh, you think talking about 1776, the musical, and Knight Rider are off track from DeepStar 6?
We are only 15 seconds into the film.
And just like Mikey right now, Captain Mikey is anxious to get out of this scene.
Yes. But here's the thing that pissed me off that he said, it's different with you. She's just like one of the guys. I was like, fuck you, dude.
Yeah.
That just means you like her and you can be friends with her and you don't just want to have sex with her.
I know, and that's like marriage material right there. Like, no joke. If you find a girl who's just one of the guys, but you still want to have sex with, that's a win-win.
Yeah.
It's got commitment issues.
Also, don't say just one of the guys anymore because
No, sure.
yeah.
Yeah, but I think in the 80s, what that really meant was like someone I can hang out with and have a good time with.
You're
which
cool,
again is like a
girl.
win-win. Yeah.
Right.
And then she like reaches down, implying that she's molesting him. I mean, consensually.
Right.
And like, oh, just
Yeah.
one of the guys.
I mean, she plays. I did like her.
Me
you know?
too.
That's the thing. Like, I really liked most of the actors in this movie. You know, I just didn't really care about anything they were doing.
Dude, and
or
I think
saying.
the best actor in the movie is the person you hate the most, and that's Snyder.
Yeah,
I think Snyder's
that's
the
Miguel
best actor in
Ferrer.
the movie, and you hate him. Yeah.
He's a Stephen King alumnus.
Oh,
We'll
is he?
talk-
He's
I love him.
great. I've seen him in a bunch of stuff.
But yeah, he's great in this movie, and that was the one part of the movie that I was interested in.
Yeah.
you know, I was like, well, maybe if you didn't treat him like shit the whole movie, he wouldn't have blown up.
They do
the ocean.
shit on him. Everyone is so mean to Snyder.
Everybody's mean to everybody.
I know.
They are.
Mikey, you're right.
They're just real cranky.
They don't even let him finish his breakfast. That in the
I
morning
know.
of the movie, they're like,
And the-
well, let's just move on out of this first
Okay.
scene because we're like,
So they're in some kind of ship, and it's like
they are underwater, but I feel like there's like a crew quarters, and then they
Yeah.
go on to the DeepStar Six to like operate whatever's going
Yeah.
on there. So and Captain Mikey is taking the crew, including his, I guess, girlfriend, right, to the DeepStar Six for their 14-hour shift or whatever.
I think you mean
Right.
consensual work colleague friend.
It's spoken like someone who has had HR complaints.
work proximity acquaintance.
Oh my God, Mikey, I know too much about your life, and I love that. Oh, I love you, Mikey.
So he basically is like driving a sub cab around, and
Yeah.
that's like his job.
He is, yeah. He's literally a submarine pilot.
He's sub rider, if you will.
Yes,
You know?
exactly.
And guys, the graphics on this thing. I mean, it was the 80s.
They're terrible for the
Jen,
80s.
no, it was 89,
like-
and it was
Yeah.
bad.
I like the little thing of bubbles that came up to remind us that we're underwater, you know?
I liked how things didn't like float fall. They just fell like rocks.
It was the 80s, so, you know, I'm not going to pick it apart too much. It's just interesting, especially since we just saw Underwater, which is like basically taking place in the exact same kind of set,
Yeah.
you know, just to see. It's just interesting to see how far technology has come with it, too.
It's basically the same movie.
Except underwater is
kind of.
much better. Captain Mikey pilots them over to DeepStar 6, which looks sort of like Hogwarts from the outside.
It kind of does.
Yeah, underwater Hogwarts.
I don't know where they came from. I don't know where they're going, the purposes of it. You'll never find out. So this is the last time we'll talk about it.
No,
Right,
Mikey, I know
yeah.
exactly what they're doing down there. Did you just miss that?
Yeah, because he was hanging out with his neighbor.
No, but I mean, like, is Deep Star 6 the place where the crew quarters are?
No. DeepStar 6 is the command center that they all work out of when they're going out to place these missile silos on the floor of the ocean.
But where do they
Right.
sleep, and why is it not the same location?
I don't know,
For
but they do
ocean
not sleep
rules.
at DeepStar 6. They sleep at underwater Motel 6.
Because for them to be in the same building is not OSHA compliant.
Right. Ocean compliant. Right.
Right. I mean,
gotcha,
the short answer is who the
Yeah, who the
knows?
fuck
I
cares?
don't
Yeah,
know.
yeah.
Because they had to give Greg Evigan a job to be in this
Right.
movie, so they had to have somebody going back and forth.
All right, so they're at Deep Star 6 to put nuclear missiles in the bottom of the ocean.
Yes, they are. And they're real mean to Miguel Ferrer, whose name is Snyder.
So there's some debate between Van Gelder, who's like the head scientist, and Sweater scientist. So like they're sort of arguing about whether or not they should use sonar to penetrate the ground they're going to put the missile silo on top of. And the doctor's
Yeah.
like, we don't have time. We've got to put this shit down in a week or we're going to get our funding cut by the Navy. And the guy's
Right.
like, well, we probably should check because we're going to put a lot of weight on it. And if it collapses, it'll blow up and that's going to like fuck us. So we probably should do it.
Right.
And the doctor's
He's like, no, just blow it all up.
Yeah,
Fuck
exactly.
you.
The
Yeah.
doctor's like, who gives a fuck about the ocean? I
yeah,
don't.
Navy,
Right,
blah,
yeah.
blah, 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 blah. Yeah, exactly.
I called him evil scientist.
I mean, he is the reason bad shit happens.
He is,
Yeah.
yeah. It's hubris. So it's breakfast time, and Richardson is hitting on a girl who's Scarpelli.
Yes. Like he's really hitting on her and like she
Yeah.
does not seem to reciprocate at all.
No, not at all.
So like what happens later really sort of freaked me out at the beginning.
Oh my God. I was like,
yeah.
oh my God.
yeah, I wonder if they were like setting it up for that, to have that moment of, oh, they're actually together. She wasn't creeped out by this weirdo the whole
Not
time.
me.
you
I was
know?
like, oh my God, this is VHS all over again. I was so scared to death.
Jen's writing her blog right
Yeah, I
now.
know. Oh my God.
I mean, I could not believe it when I saw this. And then the captain comes in and he like gives gives Scarpelli or whatever her name is the day off. He's like, you've been working too hard. There's not much for you to do today. Just take the day off. And then Richardson, who's like been like trying to mac up on Scarpelli, is all like, well, then I can help you with whatever. And the captain's like, no, you got this to do. Well, yeah, but after that, no. After that, you got this to do. Yeah, but after those two things, like, no. After that, you're going to check with me because I'm super going to cock block you all day because I'm not going to let you hit on Scarpelli or whatever.
Because I've got a memo from HR.
Oh, is that what happens?
Yeah.
Everybody liked the captain, though, which I like.
Yeah, I like that everyone liked the captain a lot. Even in the first scene when Captain Mikey is talking to Colleen, he's trying to divert from the DTR conversation to talk about how much he respects and likes the captain. Classic Mikey move.
He's like, the captain's not married.
No, but the captain is married and he has a daughter.
I know.
Or maybe it's not a daughter. Maybe that's underwater. I think he has a son.
Yeah.
But it's the same thing. Yeah.
It is, yeah. Well, okay, so now Collins is going into some other room where they do their jobs or something, and she's saying they found a cavern under the site. And old scientist is just...
Because Sweater Scientist was like, well, fuck top dog evil scientist. I'm going to do the sonar stuff anyway.
Exactly.
We don't see him say that, but they do. And they find a cavern under the site, right?
Yeah. And it's against procedure for them to dig over a cavern, of course, because it would collapse and all your shit would fall into the cavern, which is stupid.
This is my favorite debate in the film between evil scientist and Scarpelli. Because she's like, there could be interesting stuff in there, and he's like, you've seen one cavern, you've seen them all. Blow that shit up right now.
He really was.
Scarpelli is like literally saying like all of these things. Like these researchers went out there and none of them came back, and like she names like 3 or 4 things of like foreshadowing that something evil is around here in a cavern somewhere. We at least need to check it out. And yeah, evil scientist is like, shut up, let's blow it up. We'll just blow it up. It's fine.
Exactly. Yeah, but this whole thing came out of the blue. I was like, what the fuck? Wait, creatures? I want to know more about these creatures. And I thought we were going to see a bunch of cool creatures.
Yeah, but Jen, you only see about maybe a minute and a half of creature in this entire movie.
Yeah, sometimes just the tip of that creature.
Oh, yeah.
Sometimes, Jen, that's all you have time for.
Look, there's nothing wrong with the 2 minutes of creature after a couple hour buildup.
I mean, I got a
Mikey's
headache.
neighbor, I am so sorry. Mikey's neighbor. It's been a long time for him. Maybe the second time will be better.
But so we see our doctor, who's a lady doctor, but I really liked her a lot.
I liked her too. Is that the one that Snyder would go to and he's like, Mom, the kids are bullying me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Her name is Cindy.
I just called her doctor through it, but I really like her. She's giving Miguel a shot and kind of checking her out. And so this is kind of when we find out a little bit what's going on. And Snyder's complaining that he's the one who has to fix everything. And basically everyone is shitting on me all the time.
Yeah.
And
well, because in that scene where the captain is trying to stop Richardson from hitting on Scarpelli, he like makes Snyder stop eating his breakfast to help shitty asshole top doc with something.
Yeah, and then they give him shit when he tries to warm his eggs back up.
Yeah, he's like, well, now my eggs are cold. They're like, well, there's a microwave, idiot. And he's like, I'm just a little upset because they made me stop.
Right.
They made me stop eating my breakfast to help asshole doctor. I'm not like saying that. I know you guys are just being mean.
Meanwhile, Richardson is like ruining pins and garbage disposals and hitting on everybody, and nobody gives a shit about that.
And how the fuck do you fix a garbage disposal by destroying a pen inside it?
When you got a pin on your shoulder, on your shirt.
God.
I just love him so much. It made me so. Well, okay, so here's the thing. Like, we don't ever see him being a dick or an asshole. So, like, it seems like there's no reason for it.
It's like
which is
so
what's
absurd.
Weird.
It's so funny.
It's like he's the Screech of that show.
Oh,
or
my
that
God,
thing.
yes.
It's like his first week down at DeepStar 6. He, like, cried one night for his mom and then, like, peed his pants and, like, they never let it go.
Right. Yeah.
Now all I'm picturing is like them on DeepStar 6, like waiting inside their rooms, like in that scene in Shawshank Redemption, for who's going to be the first person. Yeah, exactly, Jen. Exactly.
Yeah. I mean, they are underwater.
Fresh fish.
And that's the night Snyder cost me 2 packs of cigarettes.
A whole case of pins.
Oh, my God.
But he's also talking about how, like, they were supposed to be on a 4-month tour.
And they've been on longer. They're like 6 months at this point. Yeah.
Yeah, they're like, we just want to go back up. Like, I'm fine to do a 6-month tour, but you told me it was going to be 4. Fuck you. Like, an undercurrent, of this is how much everybody just wants to get back up.
Yeah, everyone's just trying to get out.
You know.
Yeah.
But especially Snyder, because he's being bullied. He's like, it's just not fair.
Right.
Just get me up, Doc. Help me get back up to the surface, please.
Yeah.
Okay, so now we have the Scarpelli sequence, as I like to think of it in this movie.
She's like a marine biologist, right? Like
She is, yeah.
Yeah.
And I think what we find out is her job is to find out if they could at some point make a colony down there,
Yeah.
you know. But she's going over the head of evil scientist, kind of, and she's talking to the captain, who I love, Captain Laidlaw,
Yeah.
I think is his name.
Yeah, Laidlaw is his name. He's great.
And so she's just talking, she's saying like, dude, this is really stupid and it's really dangerous.
Right.
But he says, now we're still going to blow him up because those are my orders. And there's kind of this undercurrent of, military, like following orders kind of thing.
Yes, there is. Yeah. Every time you say it, I'm going to laugh.
But so she's got to go exercise all of her feelings out.
Yeah, this is her chopping wood moment.
It's on a rower, but yeah, it is her chopping wood moment. And then
But it's so weird because we get a lingering shot of her stomach
Yes.
too. It's very like, I mean, that's just an 80s
and it
thing.
didn't feel
but-
like super like male gaze because it was like the bar coming into her stomach was like the focus.
It could have been a lot more male gazy, but it definitely did feel like, because there's no reason for that scene
It just
to be
felt
in there,
weird.
you
It didn't
know?
feel sexual. It felt really weird.
yeah, it felt like a stalker who was like obsessed with a very particular part of someone's body.
Well, there was a lot of focus on the knuckles around the rower too.
That I get, Mikey.
It just seemed to me like somebody who doesn't really know how to write effective scripts wanting to present her as being upset about this and not really knowing how to do it, you know?
Sure, yeah.
But then the next thing we see is her in the shower.
Yes, it is.
And her water cuts out,
Ugh.
but lucky her, Richardson busts on in to take care of it.
This is when I had a heart attack.
And when you say take care of it, Jen, you don't mean the water situation. I'm on to what you're saying, Jen.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Winky. What really bothered me is that they have an unlimited supply of water literally outside the sub.
not fresh
It's
water,
the
Todd.
ocean.
Yeah.
So you can't tell me they had oxygen scrubbers down there, but they didn't have a water desalinator? Yeah. So like 100%, this is ridiculous. They have unlimited water.
You can bathe in salt water.
Yeah.
It makes your hair like beachy.
Yeah.
You know?
And like Epsom salt baths are a
Anyway,
thing, Mikey.
they are.
Yes.
They're amazing.
Yes.
Put a little lavender oil in
I
them.
celebrated that Richardson and her were in a consensual relationship, and this movie
It
didn't
did
go
seem
to a weird
it was
place.
consensual, yes.
It did,
Which
yeah,
made
yeah.
me happy and less uncomfortable with the first scene they're in together.
Yes.
Yes, and that's the problem I have because later on, like I like their relationship,
Yeah.
and it's just the way that they laid it out. It almost felt like they were trying to make this like a, oh my god, he's gonna attack her. No, just kidding. They're together.
Let me give you guys some insight.
Yeah, Mikey, when I think about people who know about relationships, you're the person I think they know. So yeah, let's get into it, Mikey. I
Let
want to
me
hear
talk
your
about
take.
secret work hooking up.
Oh, this is something in which you are an expert. Yes. Mikey, let's do it.
So let's say this Richardson guy is kind of flirty in general. He
Sure,
can't
yeah.
change how he's treating her because they start hooking up.
Yeah.
So she's like, I'm never going to admit that we're together ever in front of anyone because we're not supposed to, so I'm never going to do it. But you can't act
Right.
any different. So now he's under like a weird thing where he's got to like kind of flirt with her and get rejected at the same time while he meets up with her later.
Or is he kind of into it, and that way they never have to establish their actual relationship and move it to the next level because they might both get fired.
So that's why, because she's sort of unavailable, they never have to have the DTR conversation. And so,
Like it's against
and
company
so-
policy.
yeah,
I'm
yeah,
sorry.
Listen, I don't want to get fired. I don't
I
want you to
can't-
get fired. For the sake of our relationships, let's never define this.
Exactly.
And
Let's
just
pretend. I'm
always
going to pretend
keep
you
it
don't
casual.
exist.
Yeah,
Oh
exactly.
my God, this is the most Mikey movie.
I
And
mean,
that was the day Mikey learned something about himself.
Oh my God.
But it turns out they're fine and they're together.
Yeah.
And so now they're about to blow the cavern up. And the way they do it is by taking some kind of underwater remote controlled bulldozer. I mean, it's very, very,
It's
very
not remote
slow.
control. There were two people in that, Jen.
I couldn't fucking figure out what was going on with it.
And they literally just place the bomb down and they're like, careful, careful, careful. And then they just drop it. And then they back up 6 feet to explode a bomb on a cavern. And then they
Right.
wonder why they're about to fall into it.
Oh my God.
But they say, oh no, the floor is collapsing.
Yeah.
Gotta back up. Beep, beep, beep.
And then The best part is that there's no way that we should have an underwater tractor and just not have a submarine do this.
Right.
And also we find out 12 minutes later that this thing like can separate from the bulldozer section of it, making the bulldozer section of it not at all needed because they're underwater. Because it is just a sub, Mikey. You're right.
But we also find out these guys are not great at their jobs.
The model, because it looks like a scene from a Godzilla movie, the model is just an army tank painted yellow with the bulldozer thing on the front, and that's a submarine.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
There's a little line of bubbles going up to let us know it's underwater. Yeah. What I thought was so weird about this is like what's happening is not interesting at all, but it's got this track of like adventure, like suspense. Oh my God.
Yeah.
That just, it didn't marry together well. It was so weird.
And the two guys driving the tractor were like, ooh, fuck this job.
They are like the worst employees ever. Yeah.
What you gonna do? She's gonna want us to take pictures of this shit too?
Yeah. Hey, can you take pictures? Hey, can you do exactly what your job is? Jerks.
The cavern collapses and now there's a hole. And Scarapelli and the other people are like, we should explore it.
Yeah, we should go check out that hole.
Yeah, you should.
And listen, I get it. If a hole opens itself to me, I'm going to want to definitely explore.
You got to explore it. You got to explore
You
it.
got to see what's going on down there.
There's some thermal heat readings. Know what I'm saying?
I'm not a part of this conversation, listeners. But they want to send a scout, which is a remote camera, which I don't know why this guy couldn't have just dropped the bomb.
It is just like a submersible, like little camera thing. It's like an underwater
like a
drone, but
thing.
bigger. Yeah, exactly, Jen. Exactly.
Right. And they do not know how to control this thing.
No, these guys aren't very good at this.
And listen, sometimes for guys, when a hole opens up to them and they're able to send something inside it, they don't really know how to handle that, and they just don't do a great job.
No.
It just blows up all over the place.
It's actually worst case scenario because they send in their swimmer and they lose it. They lose it in there. And then a creature comes out 9 months later.
It's quicker. It's actually quicker. The gestation period of this cavern is very quick.
You don't even have time to prepare.
There's no building a creature nursery. You have no time for that.
Right.
There's no baby showers when you're already underwater.
Honestly, and Mikey, I don't know how you got there, but that is the tagline for this movie.
Right.
Oh my God. But anyway, I mean, we're joking about it, but they do send that underwater drone into the cavern and they go deeper and deeper and deeper.
Right. And it's really cool. Like they see like lava and like underwater caverns, no monsters. Cause I was promised monsters in this cavern.
I think I saw some CGI in there.
A little bit.
I think so. It looked really ridiculous.
It did look really ridiculous. This is because the bubbles are literally like Star Trek going to warp speed, but the camera angle is just shifting around and the bubbles do not look like at all cohesive at all. But then it severs the remote like cable.
Yeah.
It's attacked by the creature.
Well, yeah, but the remote is severed.
Yeah.
So they lose the video signal. They lose everything, right?
Yeah, because there's like an electrical wire that's like flopping around a little bit.
And so they pull up the electrical wire and realize that it's no longer connected, right?
This part's great because they're like, did y'all lose the thing again? Go get it. What's the point of having a remote sub to go to dangerous places if we have to go in there and get it if we lose it? Like, it's obviously too dangerous in there to go get it. I would not have gone.
Well, what's the point of having this remote sub if you're going to hire two morons to operate it that lose it every time you need it?
Well, and also, what's the point of having a remote sub if your sub can fit into where the remote sub is going? Why did they not just go in there? Anyway, but they decide that, okay, they'll never know. We'll just, find the remote sub and bring it back with us and they'll never know.
It'll be fine.
Right.
We're not stupid.
So they go in there, lights a-blazing, and then they get attacked by the sub. And Colleen is back at DeepStar 6, and she's like, asking them to run tape and all that stuff, what she was asking about the remote stuff. And then Collins loses the connection to that remote bulldozer thing.
Right.
And we never see those two guys again. They're just gone.
No, they're
They are
legit
gone.
just dead. Oh, wait, she's not at DeepStar 6. She's at the remote base. The C-Track is what they called that. She's at the remote base over the cavern. Yeah.
It was so needless. Everything should have been at one little substation.
I know. But if it was Mikey, then Captain Mikey has no way to be the savior of, his future wife / mother of his child, because he has to be like, he has to pilot back and forth. He is an underwater bus driver, Mikey. This is the person you grew up to be. And so but if she's not at whatever C-Track, then he can't go save her.
True.
And she's there with the sweater doctor who was doing the sonar against the orders of asshole doctor.
Right, but so I feel like we're missing the drama of the ping on the radar, though, because
Yes,
they're
that
saying,
is true. You're right.
Ping, ping.
oh no, something's coming at us. Oh, it's big.
That dude was a real size queen.
Ah!
But yeah, I love that we do see like the camera they have to look out. We see it until they see the creature, and then it just shows their reaction to it. It was so funny to me that they couldn't show that shitty creature they had. They couldn't get a shot of that through the camera for whatever reason.
I know.
It was ridiculous.
And that's the thing. It's like this is supposed to be a really tense moment, but it's just because I guess it's the acting. It's just terrible.
Is this when it attacks the bulldozer or when it attacks the sub?
The bulldozer. Well, honestly, Mikey, both. They're just at various different times in the movie.
Because Sweater Doctor and Collins were like, it's coming right for us again. And then
but it literally is the exact same sequence. It's just not two guys in a floaty bulldozer.
Right.
It's Collins and Sweater Doctor in the sea track.
Yeah. So the deep sea track gets hit and then it starts leaking.
Yeah, and Joyce calls and tells Snyder to go get Laidlaw.
Yes.
And then he calls her a bitch, which I did not like.
No.
And it's like, well, maybe if you're calling everybody bitch, that's why they're bullying you.
Yeah, I mean, listen, there are problems on both sides, but they are mean to Snyder throughout the whole movie. I'm not saying he's justified in calling her a bitch, but there's blame on both sides of this.
Yep, that's why he blows up the ocean. Now, Snyder and McBride and the captain know that there's trouble afoot in this one of the different submarines.
And all of these variety of underwater vehicles / stations that we never get clarity on.
So they're going to go try to save her and Sweater Doctor. So Collins wakes up in that ship and it's right on an ocean cliff and it's about to fall in. And Sweater Scientist is there, but his legs are crushed and he's stuck.
Yeah, because the sea track is literally teetering above the edge of the cavern that was blown out. And because it's shifted, a lot of the boxes, like the metal boxes that stuff are in, fell on his legs.
Because why would you ever have those secured when you're in a submarine?
There'd be no reason to do that, Mikey, clearly.
So now the actual captain and Captain Mikey are on the way and they start seeing the globe radar again too. Oh no, I think we're in big trouble, boss. That was actual dialogue. But then it's okay because it goes away. So they don't have to actually get scared.
Jen, it goes away because Captain Laidlaw is really smart and he literally says, turn off all the lights and stop moving. So it passes by it because it's not attracted to the light.
Interesting. Yeah, I missed that part. So they find Collins. They dock with her ship. Her ship's all fucked up.
I love as they're coming in, Captain Mikey literally says, oh man, they're teetering on the edge. One bump and they'll go over. And the captain goes, well, don't bump it.
Exactly. That's why he's the captain.
I was like, captain knows how to handle it. I love that guy.
He's good under pressure, man.
Awesome.
Yeah,
good under
I
pressure.
love
So the hatch is broken to get into the other thing.
Yeah.
The captain's like, I'll rewire it because that'll be quicker than the manual.
This is insane because they're like, it'll be quicker than the manual. They take 15 seconds to try and hotwire it and it sparks. So they stop and they're like, let's just do it manually. It takes 5 seconds to open it manually.
Yeah, they just lift it up.
What are you doing?
Yeah. Well, and so they go in and they find Collins and they find Sweater Scientist who ends up dying. He just died in her arms tonight while they were waiting to get saved.
It must have been the box on my head.
I should have swam away.
I should have swam away. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But they do take his sweater, I think.
No, I don't think they do.
Doesn't Captain Mikey give her his sweater?
He does, but it's his sweater. He doesn't steal it off a dead man.
Oh, and also, that sweater is soaking wet. You would not give someone who is wet your soaking wet sweater to make them warmer. That is ridiculous.
That's flirt 101.
Todd, what you don't know is that he peed on it.
I did not know that. You're right, Mikey. I did not know that.
Was that a deleted scene?
Yeah, it was a deleted scene. It's actually warmer than the water around them.
He had in his contract that he doesn't do pee.
Yeah, he said clearly no water sports.
Water sports, Jen.
No swimming. Okay, and this is where I think I got bored and looked away for a second, and then all of a sudden the door had fallen on the captain, and they had swum to safety.
They foreshadowed this throughout the time they're trying to rescue.
Or did they door shadow?
It is a door shadow, you're right.
It cuts to a hinge that's breaking periodically, but it's also very boring, so I get it. So the door crushes Laidlaw. He's got blood coming out of his mouth, and he's like, go on without me. My back's broken. Just live a good life.
Right.
And the sound he made when he broke his back was, Oh, I loved it.
He was like, my back was already weak from carrying this whole fucking crew.
And this movie.
I
Good
mean,
luck
it's
without me.
true.
Oh, and then as he's telling them to go away, they won't. So he hits the flood button of the small hatch they're in. He's like, listen, if you don't leave, I'm going to kill us all. So get out of here.
So that's what he was trying to do, right? Because I just looked up and he was
I
flooding
guess.
the whole thing. It's like, what the fuck?
I guess. I mean, he doesn't explain himself because he died. And listen, I love the captain. I wish he had stayed the
I do
whole
too.
movie. Very sad he died. But yes, I mean, I think that's what he did. He forced their
It
hand.
is an odd choice.
That's what he did.
I mean, he still could have killed them
Yes,
all.
he
you know?
absolutely could have killed them all because their submersible like sub that,
He was
that
like,
Captain Mikey piloted over there is attached.
Just get on and get out.
Yeah, I mean, he 100% was throwing rocks at them.
In his defense, he is getting a little too old for this shit.
Well,
so-
and a little too dead for this shit too, for sure.
yeah, but rest in peace, Captain.
Oh,
Because
I
really
loved
liked
him. He
you.
was the best.
Yeah, he may have been my favorite part of this movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But anyways, so they get back to the other ship, and this is when he gives the soaking hot pea sweater, which for Jen Sweater Bank, by the way, I do not appreciate pea sweaters.
No.
So.
I do think you should go on the record as anti-pea sweater, just
Yeah.
because we know how much you like sweaters.
I do like sweaters.
Yeah.
And I just want to shout this out for a minute. There is a Twitter account called Jen Sweater Bank.
Yes, everyone go follow it immediately.
Yeah,
Yes.
it's kindly posting me some delightful sweater pictures. And there's now a backup account called Jen's Backup Flannel
Yes.
Bank for when there are no sweaters in a movie. So I appreciate they're looking out for me, which I really appreciate. Thanks, guys.
I like this
man.
scene because Captain Mikey's like, oh, so that was really terrible. Here's my sweater. We're still not in a relationship, but I care about you and I'm glad you're safe.
Right.
Yeah.
It's not going to be a ring, but you can have my sweater.
He does have a moment with the captain before they go to the sea track to rescue them. He has a moment
does.
where he explains to the captain why he shouldn't be with Collins, because he's like, she's an amazing woman. She's the first person to graduate out of the Navy SEAL Academy, and she has like all of these awesome accolades. She's amazing. She's great. And he's
Right.
like, I would just hold her back.
Yeah, I'm
And that-
just
yeah.
I'm just Mikey.
Right.
Well, and that's when I found out what he did in the movie because he was like, I'm just a submarine pilot. And I was like, oh, so you really don't have any other jobs. Yeah.
Captain Laidlaw's like, Captain Mikey, I know your dad left, but like I don't think I should be in a position to giving you this kind of advice. I'm your professional just supervisor.
He literally stands up and stares him down and says, Captain Mikey, it's not your fault.
Yeah.
It's not your fault, Mikey.
It's not your fault.
Mikey.
It's not your
It's not your fault.
I do like their relationship a
Me
lot,
too.
though. It
I
is
love it.
sweet. So this is the point in my notes that I wrote. This movie is 1,000,000 years long.
Yes. And honestly, I think we're only like 40 minutes in. When you have that thought
Yep.
the first time, you're like, oh, this has got to be almost over. There's 50 minutes left. Like,
Yep, I had that thought. I kept checking, like pushing pause to see
Yeah.
how much was left. And I was
You
like,
guys, this is when it kicks it into the next gear.
sure.
medium fast.
Second gear.
All right, so they get back to the big base. Okay, and Richardson comes in. He says, oh, I'm sorry about the captain. Here's a picture I found in his stuff that I was ransacking 2 minutes after he died.
Yeah, literally, like they bring news back that the captain's dead. The first thing Richardson does is, guess he doesn't need any of his shit. I'm gonna go steal
Right.
stuff. And he goes
Yeah.
through his shit and like brings that picture. And he like is talking to Captain Mikey, and he's like, hey, I just came down here to say I really like the captain too. I guess that's all I came down here to say. Also, I've been going through his shit.
Yeah.
Do you want this picture? Because I literally stole everything else.
Yeah, I got all the sweaters. You can't have them. Yeah, Corey pointed that out. He's like, he's already going through his shit. It
Yeah,
was
like
very weird.
immediately. Is there a scene? I can't remember if there's a scene where like they tell everyone that Laidlaw is dead. And in my mind, there is no scene of that. But when that happened, Richardson did not react. He just immediately spun on his feet and walked right to Richardson's room to start stealing his shit.
Well, they did cut out a scene where the captain was in the shower and the water ran out and Richardson busted in. And that's when we realized that they had a relationship and that
exactly.
Richardson actually shared the room with the captain.
I would have loved a scene with Richardson already in the two guys who just died's room. Gets the noise on the overhead like the captain's dead, so he takes off running to the captain's quarters.
Like clicking his heels.
He is 100% a thief.
Yeah, he is.
Well, he definitely stole Scarapelli's heart.
Oh, he did.
I mean, stole might be the right word for it.
I mean, listen, Richardson's not a bad looking dude. He's probably like a 6, but he's a DeepStar 8 for sure.
Yes, he is. And he's funny and charming. I just don't want him to just get out of my shower, dude. All right. So doctor is checking her out and she's telling Scarpelli and the doctor what's happening. This is when Scarpelli is like, yeah, there's this theory of aggressive animal behavior associated with light. And if you just turn all the lights off, they go away and it's fine.
Yeah. I did love that one of them at some point says, yeah, light means lunch.
Oh my God, I missed that. But that is definitely making it into our recap.
Oh my God, that is amazingly bad dialogue, and I am here for it.
But it didn't stand out enough for me to write it down, though.
That was probably during one of the sections you were looking
Jen,
away.
I can't believe you weren't paying attention.
Oh, well, my neighbor came over and we were baking some bread. But okay, so this is when she's like checking her heart, and McBride, who's Captain Mikey, comes in to a closed doctor evaluation or whatever, and she goes, "Oh, there's your heart. Oh, there's another heartbeat."
Okay, I have one thing to say about this scene.
Just one, Mikey?
The main thing
I got a lot to say about this.
The main thing I gotta say is that baby is like right in her sternum for some reason.
Yeah. She holds the baby very high. I've never been pregnant, and my knowledge of pregnancy is very much like what I learned from watching the movie Junior. So maybe Jen can explain more about where a baby sits in a woman's body.
I don't think it's on your sternum.
I don't think it's that high. Yeah.
I mean, it gets that high once it gets so big that there's nowhere else to go.
I mean, yeah, but she's probably what can you hear a heartbeat? Like 3 months, 4 months in?
Here's some baby signs. Also, I don't know what kind of technology they have under the ocean. So it could be that they just have these advanced stethoscopes.
Is true. Yeah, you're right. You're right.
But yeah, like she's so early that she's not showing. So I imagine she's probably like less than 3 months pregnant, somewhere around there. Yeah. And it's really low in your pelvis to the point where you can't find, let me see how I can say this. You can't find it with a microphone that is on the outside.
Right, you have to go internally.
Yes, and that's when you can hear the heartbeat. And even then, it can be kind of hard to find. So yeah, that whole thing.
Well, what you don't see is that the doctor, or I think we should just call her Ferris Bueller's mom because she is.
Oh, that's right. That's where I've seen her.
Ferris Bueller's mom.
Yeah, Mrs. Bueller.
Yeah, Mrs. Bueller does have a microphone.
Dr. Bueller.
Yeah, Dr. Bueller does definitely have a microphone inside. You just don't see it, and they don't want to freak out Captain Mikey, so they just pretend that's where it is. That makes sense
because he's the important one in this scene too,
well,
right?
I mean, it was the 80s.
Who cares about her company?
I mean,
still important. He's the father.
Just like Mikey, Captain Mikey, when he gets a woman pregnant, goes from we should never see each other after this assignment to we're going to get married and have a family.
Yeah, you can see it change in his eyes on this scene.
Yeah, you can.
He's like, "What's that?" And she's like, "That's our baby." And he's like, "What?"
We should name him after the captain.
Yeah. He's, and I don't know if this is when they have the conversation, because I think at first he's like,
no, he doesn't. It's in the scene. It's immediately.
Yeah, because the doctor's like, well, I'll let you guys talk about this. I'm going to head out.
And she leaves. She immediately bones out.
Which I would too.
Yeah, Dr. Bueller's like, oh, you clearly didn't know. Fuck this shit, I'm out. I'm going to give you guys some space.
He's saying, why didn't you tell me? And she's like, because you're always fucking talking about what kind of a drifter you are. So no. How do you think I didn't tell you?
Yeah.
Because of every conversation we've ever had. Yeah. That's why I didn't tell you.
Because of literally every bit of dialogue you've ever had ever in this relationship.
I didn't tell you because of who you are as a person deep down into your core.
Yeah.
I do feel like, Mikey, you're in like 18 years going to have a child or a young adult show up at your house and say that you are their dad.
Oh my God.
It's named after the podcast if it's a boy. Yeah, this is when, you're right, this is when they decide to name it after the captain if it's a boy.
He goes from not knowing he's going to be a dad to immediately being on board to naming the unborn child in the span of 30 seconds.
That's a Mikey move if I ever heard one.
That's my point, Mikey. You have all these commitment issues, but the second you get someone pregnant, you are going to be committed for life.
That's all I got.
I can't wait.
Look out, ladies.
I cannot wait for that to happen, Mikey.
Now that we're discussing it, it doesn't sound healthy.
No.
That should not be a realization you're just having now.
Did strike me as odd that they were going to name it Captain's first, Captain's last name, and then his last name.
Yeah, but we go from this like pregnancy realization scene to a scene where Snyder is fucking everything up for the rest of the movie. Snyder does not do one thing correctly the rest of the movie.
I know. Yeah, I think I wrote something about that. But I do love he comes in and he says, I don't want to piss on your picnic, which I thought was a fun little line. All right, so now they're all like, oh, some shit happened. Hey, let's go home. Yay. So now they have their excuse to get out of their tour that is extended.
Well, yeah, because shit's hitting the fan. They're literally under attack from the Tremor monster.
Evil bomb scientist wants to secure the missile, so Snyder has to do that before they can go.
I do love that he's like, can you handle that, Snyder? Like, he's like sort of demeaning him, and Snyder's like, just like, yeah, I'll handle it.
Snyder is like, why don't we just leave? It's not like someone's gonna swim down here and get the missiles. Let's just get the fuck out of here.
Yeah, Snyder didn't even want to do this.
And this is why you shouldn't, as a leader, delegate all of your tasks.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, or at least watch.
Yeah, right. So Snyder has to do the missiles. I'm gonna set this up for you. So Snyder pulls out the computer manual. He's like, okay, abandon the missile sled, abandon the missile sled. And then he just types into the computer, what do I do if we have to abandon the missile sled? Enter.
Yeah, and then the computer brings up the multiple choice question.
Yeah.
Is it abandoned because we got bored? Is it abandoned because it was time to go home? Or is it abandoned because of a threat, aggression?
Or nature.
Now, to his credit, he does call to get the answer to this question.
He reaches out for help.
He gets, whatever, shut the fuck up, Snyder.
Everybody hates you, Snyder. We make fun of you behind your back. Just pick whatever. And then he internally is like, wow, that call for help was very aggressive. I'm going to go ahead and choose aggressive.
He calls Collins and is like, Collins, would you say what attacked you was more nature or more aggressive? And then that's what she's like, you're a fucking idiot. I'm pregnant.
I know.
And
the doctor is behind her, like co-signing it, like, shut up, Snyder. You're the fucking worst. I hope your eggs are always cold.
Yeah. I think she said, stop fucking around and just do it already.
Yeah.
Is what she actually said.
And let me just ask you guys a question real quick. If you were underwater and there's a chance that someone could do something that leads to blowing up the missiles and killing you all.
And the entire ocean.
Right. Is that something you would just be like, you know what? I'm not even going to mention that there's a possibility he could explode the missile and kill us all.
Shut the fuck up, Todd. Just do it. No one wants to hear you bitching and moaning about, oh, the missiles might blow up. Oh, they blew up the ocean. My name's Todd.
Exactly, Mikey.
Exactly. Well, and so really they have all failed Snyder and he has failed humanity.
Exactly.
There's not even a password to blow up these nuclear missiles.
No.
The password is shut the fuck up, Snyder. All lowercase and the I is a 1.
Yeah, that's what it is.
Oh, so Snyder does some missile stuff. And he pushes fire, but he also says, don't try this at home. And then he fires all the missiles.
Yeah, he blows them up.
Yeah, and then the ship starts a rocking, and they all think, oh, maybe we should have been nicer to Snyder.
No, they're like, Snyder, what the fuck?
They're like, what did you do, you asshat?
Right, this is what you told me to do.
Yeah, in all fairness, it is. Following orders.
If there was other procedure, somebody should have been with him to explain.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
So after the explosion hits them, this is one of the craziest like explosion scenes because they're really all just running around and bonking things.
They're just
and
rocking
it's like
back
the
and
camera
forth.
is shaking.
It's like Star Trek.
It is like Star
Right.
Trek, yeah, which is a TV show that came out 20 years before this movie came out.
Have you learned nothing? I kind of lost track of like what was getting wrong, but they're all like running around trying to fix things, and there's like a leak or something.
Oh yeah, I
and-
mean, they're just water's entering it. There's sections being shut off. Like the crew quarters is fucked. They can't go there, and it's sealed off.
So the crew quarters are in DeepStar 6.
Oh shit! I guess they are. Then where the fuck did they come from?
maybe the hookup shack was off base.
Maybe that's what it is. Yeah,
DeepStar 6 inches.
Mikey, that's the porn version.
But the main thing that happens is the reactor cooling shit doesn't work anymore.
Well, yeah, and the air scrubbers.
Right.
Fucked.
Oh, yeah,
so
the
they're
air.
they're not getting oxygen either, or fresh oxygen.
And in a few hours, everything's going to explode.
Yes.
And then this is my favorite.
Now we have introduced a ticking explodey clock.
Yeah.
Ticking reactor clock. Yeah.
Yeah, because by blowing all the missiles up, he's like Chernobyl this whole thing.
Yes.
But this is my favorite Snyder insult because Richardson's like, way to fucking go, Snyder. You must be in the Guinness Guinness Book of World Records, a person who causes the most nuclear explosions at one time. Boom, drop the mic, and then he like walks out. I was like, wow, that's quite an insult.
It was, yeah.
Right.
But hilarious.
Honestly, it took Truman like the span of 7 days to drop 2 nuclear bombs. Snyder did it in like a day.
Right.
Yeah.
Just because everybody yelled at him,
And everyone still yelled at him throughout this whole scene. And it was...
They did. They hated him for the entire movie. Everybody hates him. So they fixed the roof and they can't leave because they can't decompress.
Right.
They're just fucked. So now I don't know how he got here, but Richardson is getting into a huge underwater suit.
They come up with a plan to repair something. They got to go underwater.
Yeah, Collins and the asshole doctor come up with a way out. They have to go into, sort of like where the person who's going to go outside, like puts the suit on and goes out.
The moon pool.
Yeah,
Oh,
more
like
or less.
the depressurization dock something?
It's whatever.
Yeah, it doesn't matter that
It doesn't
much.
matter.
But-
Someone's going to go outside and like weld some shit shut.
Right, so that
All
they
right.
can bypass a section that's flooded, but then still get access to the decontamination place. Right, so
And that's going to be Richardson.
Yeah,
so
Richardson gets-
Richardson puts on the heavy ass suit to go out of the DeepStar 6, and then he goes
it's
out.
way less badass than it is in underwater.
Oh,
like he's
yeah.
got it. He can't even. They have to like pick him up with a crane. 'cause
Yeah.
this
It's
thing is
way
so
less
heavy.
badass than any other underwater movie. Like The Abyss does this whole movie better as well.
So much better, yeah.
Yeah.
And then when they're putting in the suit, what's her face and him kind of like come out that they're in an actual relationship.
Well, because the captain's dead, so nobody's
Yeah,
going to report
yeah.
him now.
But anyway, so he goes outside the DeepStar 6 and he finds it and starts welding it and does it.
Yeah.
He finishes it.
Oh.
And then he's like,
I think I saw something.
And how would he have seen something when he's like only looking at the side of the DeepStar 6?
Doesn't make deep star sense.
And we are seeing the reverse of his perspective. We can see behind him, there's nothing behind him.
Right. And they hear him screaming.
Yes. And then he makes it back over to the airlock bay or whatever. And then they open it and it doesn't immediately flood. And then they start to pull him up. And then they're like, oh my God, there's something in the airlock. And then it starts to flood because they can't close the other side of it. If they didn't close the other side of it, it would have flooded immediately.
Right. But this is my favorite part because they pull him out of the airlock with the crane.
Oh, yeah. Well, this is the first time we see the creature.
They pull some of him out.
Well, no, they pull all of them out, and then the creature jumps up and bites his all the way up to his midsection, and then pulls him back down, and the crane's like fighting him, and then eventually rips him in half.
Right, because it turns out that plan didn't really have any legs to stand on.
No. They didn't plan it out well.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, so the trimmer monster eats him in half.
Yes.
And the trimmer monster looks so dumb. It's so great.
It's so funny. I mean, how...
It is,
I
yeah.
have so many questions about this monster because A, it is big enough to like fill up this entire room that they're in about, I don't know, 15 minutes from now. But it was small enough to get in through the airlock that's really only big enough for one person. And it becomes like twice that size and then shrinks back down again to go to a different room. What the shit is this monster?
It's got some of those genes from the sharks from Deep Blue Sea because those sharks had that problem as well. But also, I liked in the when you go to Amazon Prime to watch this, it's like it says that this is a crustacean that's attacking them.
So this is Sebastian from Little Mermaid?
That's why he took the legs.
Aw, I love Sebastian.
Me
he was
too.
my favorite in Little Mermaid. I like.
Me too. The deep sea is always scary when Snyder is fucking up. You think about planting missiles. I hope you don't blow them up. Just look at the base around you. It's flooding and you are fucked. If Snyder touches anything, well then you'll be out of luck.
Whoa.
Under the sea. Oh my God. There's no way. There's no way it's a crustacean.
That's what it says.
Wait, it does. But it does have Sebastian claws.
Yeah, I've got fun facts about
Oh
what
my
it is.
God.
Do you want to talk about what it is now?
Yes. Let's just talk about it right
right.
now. Yeah.
So, first thing is, nobody's ever talked about what this is actually supposed to be.
Because nobody cared enough to find out.
Yeah, kind of.
Yeah.
But so it's possibly a Eurypterid.
Oh, that's a word you didn't just make up just now.
That sounds like something you would catch from Richardson.
I mean, it does. Hey, look, that's why he wanted to eat him, to destroy the evidence.
Yeah, he definitely gave that to Scarpelli, but they never found out because they died before they got checked out by Dr. Bueller.
It's revenge. Well, so that was like a large, it's like an ancient sea scorpion.
Okay.
Is what they were called. It's the largest known arthropod to have ever lived. It could get up to 8 feet long in times, and there have been fossils of these things found on every continent. So this is like a prehistoric.
So it's like an actual thing.
Yes.
Oh,
that thing is. I don't know if this was based on that because this looks like true.
Jen, you're not surprising me at all that this is not based on a true story. Yeah.
Exactly. But that is the closest thing in nature to what this thing probably looks like.
Fair enough.
And I'm going to link an article where it shows a picture of it. And I mean, I can see it, you know, like the way its like face opens up like that. That's kind of how these like sea scorpion things did.
Fair enough.
So it's so sad. They're trying to close the door, but the thing gets in and now it's swimming around as like the room fills with water. And Scarpelli is really sad because Richardson just died.
Yeah, I mean, but her boyfriend just died. Like, I get that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I get it. But then she just like falls in the water and the thing gets her. Was there something that happened to make her jump in the water other than sadness?
I mean, I don't know. I think she like fainted.
I thought she slipped on her tears.
She may
well,
have.
in all fairness, Mikey, her tears have flooded this pod that they're in, like all the way up to like maybe like stomach level on like a regular sized person.
Let's just skip ahead to the most important death, which is evil doctor.
Oh, geez. Well, is that what's happening now? So Snyder's just standing there.
No, that's not what's happening now.
When they go back, that's what
happens.
happens.
Because they retreat out of this room, but they have not yet hooked up the hose from inside the room. The outside welding bit is done. So Richardson, even though he's dead, did complete his task, and they run out of that room because the monster's now in there.
Yes, they run out and seal it.
Yes.
So it's Evil Doctor, Captain Mikey, Dr. Collins, Snyder, Dr. Bueller, and Snyder, right?
Right. But, well, they can't just sit there because they know, A, they're going to run out of oxygen and then explode. Maybe not in that order, but that's going to happen, right?
Right.
So they're like, we have to go back in there. What weapons do we have to get in there and then protect ourselves when Sebastian, the sea crab, is going to attack us, right? And that's when they go back in there with. There's like this montage of them collecting shotguns and
it's
a
one
shark
box.
dart.
It's one box with 3 shotguns, and then this is another one because Captain Mikey and Collins both get their shotguns racked and everything, and they're like, "Oh man, this is why we have a mutual attraction." And then Snyder's like, "Yeah, I know how to use a shotgun," and then he can't do it. And then they have to do it for him, and they're like, and they give each other a look like, "Oh, it's fucking Snyder."
So they go back in.
But this is like when they're going back into the room where Sebastian the Crab is, right?
So
they're like going back in there so that the Captain Mikey can hook up the hose he needs to depressurize or maybe like I don't know fill the whatever.
It's something to get the decompression.
Yeah,
chamber
so they
going.
can get into the decompression chamber. So
whatever.
He goes in there to like do that, and they follow him with the weapons to like protect him from Sebastian, right? But as they're going in there, they're like throwing strobe lights into the water to help like distract him. And then they don't necessarily turn off their flashlights until someone, this is when they talk about how it's attracted to light. And I think it's Snyder that says light is lunch. So they turn.
I mean, he does.
Yeah. So they turn off their flashlights. But you're right. Once Captain Mikey goes down under the water to like attach the hose, the asshole doctor does shoot one of the strobe lights because it scares him. And dude, when you see Mikey or Captain Mikey come back up, the asshole doctor then swings around and is about to shoot him. Like I 100% thought that he might die because he got shot by friendly fire right here.
That scientist was a dick. But then it's right behind them. And so now Snyder accidentally stabs evil scientist in the back with his like exploding spear.
Snyder does fuck up this entire movie. This, I will go on the record, is not his fault.
But it's super funny.
It is, but the asshole doctor backs into it. Like Snyder is just there holding it, and the asshole doctor backs into it, and then the shark dart that he's holding, I guess, just injects a bunch of air because it
no. I think it had an
chest.
explosive tip. I think it had an explosive tip.
That could be too because it
so
literally
Evil Doctor's
blows
chest
his chest
explodes.
out. Yeah.
Right. I wrote Snyder is quite the fuck up at that point.
And everyone sees him. Everyone sees this happen too, which is like another great thing.
Yeah, and then they're going back into the dry room, and Snyder's saying it wasn't my fault fault.
Well, also, they shot the creature a bunch of times with a shotgun. I think that's very important that they shot like 90 bullets into the crustacean. And I like how in the middle of shooting, they all still notice that Snyder fucked up and killed someone.
Right. Well, I mean, yeah.
Snyder didn't fuck up, but I do think they blame him for it.
They do, but this is when they have the conversation where he's like, I did everything by the book. This is what I'm supposed to do. Why do you all hate me all of the time?
He's right. He did do everything by the book. And honestly, if you just let this man eat his fucking eggs and give him a little help when he needs it, this would not have happened.
Mm-hmm. Wouldn't have blown up the whole ocean.
They should have shot him out the airlock.
And then Doctor gives him some medicine to calm down because he's so hysterical about constantly being bullied.
She forces him a shot. Like and Captain Mikey puts him in a chokehold.
Yes.
Like he's like, they're so mean to Snyder, man.
I know. But this is the part when I felt so bad for him because he just looks at the doctor and then he just starts crying. And like, I didn't mean to. And it made me feel really bad. I was like, yeah, you guys are dicks.
I know, they are really mean to him. And honestly, I do think the only person who's somewhat nice to him is Dr. Bueller.
Mm-hmm.
And so then their plan was like, okay, the escape pod will work now. We have the decompression chamber. Let's go pack a bunch of snacks. I don't really know why they split up.
They're going to the emergency escape pod and they're all just kind of over Snyder. And so they left him alone.
No, the doctor's with him and then Captain Mikey and the girl go to pack up stuff for the trip.
I think it's just because Captain Mikey and his girlfriend, or now his fiance,
baby mama.
Baby mama. I think they go to get like food and stuff because they're going to have to sit in the decompression chamber for hours before they can ascend.
I think so. And, she's got a baby. She might need to eat.
Honestly, Mikey, she's snacking for 2.
She is.
That makes sense.
Yeah. But so they've left Snyder alone.
Yes.
And now this part was fucking insane because he sees the ghost of evil scientists.
It's Snyder snaps.
But he's like, you killed me. You're always a fuck
it's the asshole scientist. Yeah.
Yeah. He's a dick.
But he's not really there. He's like hallucinating it.
Right. And so he runs around and he climbs up to the ladder to get to some like emergency pod that they were talking about.
This is what they were all going to take. Yeah.
Yeah. And he pushes Lady Dr. Bueller down.
Not before she literally pantses him on the ladder. she like pulls one last prank. Yeah.
She does.
She pulls one last prank. And as he's trying to get out of there, she's like, not with your pants, motherfucker. Mm-hmm. And she like pulls his pants down.
She's like laying down. She's like, you got a small dick.
So fun fact though, she actually gave him a noogie too as she was running up the stairs. But they cut it out because they thought it was too cruel.
Test audiences didn't like it.
Testee's audience didn't like it.
No, they didn't. They liked everything else though.
The doctor almost gets cut in half, and she gets saved by Captain Mikey.
She does.
Yeah.
And literally falls to the floor from a pretty like sizable height. Although it does save her life because the hatch would have cut her in half.
Yes.
She would have gone out a lot like Captain Laidlaw did.
Yeah, he wasn't going to let him get cut in half on his watch again.
Yeah, Captain Mikey was like, I've only got one baby to name.
It's not twins.
Yeah.
But he's in this escape pod. Snyder is, and he's not going to decompress, and he's going to go up, and it's going to like kill them all. And so he takes off in the hatch, and now there's water pouring from the ladder because he just detached this thing.
The escape hatch goes up, and he's going up, and then they're like, well, damn it. Maybe we shouldn't have bullied him.
Yeah. I mean, I wish they would say that, but they don't. They're like, fuck you, Snyder.
But his death is so like gruesome. It's not over the top, but like you see him like bleeding from every orifice and whatever. And like I was afraid for 1 second we were going to see him like pop and like explode out.
Yeah.
But we don't see that. Yeah. But he was looking like he was going
It
that
had
way.
my favorite moment from the script where Captain Mikey was like, I'm going to kill him. And then the doctor was like, he's already dead.
Yeah.
Yes.
It was really sad too, though. I mean, if I didn't love this actor so much, I wonder how I would feel about it. But this part made me really sad. He's just trying to get away from the bullying.
He got bullied into like doing some shit he like didn't mean to do.
Yeah.
And then he started hallucinating, so he got out of there as quick as possible and of course died. I do like that he dies that way because it does sort of like set the stakes for what happens if they don't decompress before they go out.
And
right?
he liquefies. Yes. I mean, that's pretty cool.
It's yeah, and it could have been a lot grosser, so I'm okay with it.
Yes, it could have been.
So now it's the 3, and it's a little bit awkward because she's just kind of sitting in the corner staring, and he looks over and he's like,
Captain Mikey's like, don't you want to join us?
Yeah. He's like, no, I saw how you pissed on her sweater. No.
Oh, yeah.
But he looks over and he says, will you marry me? And, it is kind of sweet.
Mikey does not propose marriage unless he's like, all right, the chances of us making her out are pretty much gone.
Exactly.
That's what I was thinking. I was thinking like he already knew he was going to have to do something that was super dangerous, so he wasn't going to make it out. And essentially, he would die and then they would die because the only thing now that they can do is he needs to swim through this place where Sebastian the Crab is, and then he has to get the sub that's on the other side and then bring it around to their side, and then they can decompress together and then go up.
Yeah, but now he gets to feel like a good guy because he's he's proposed to
He's
her.
like, I'm gonna she's gonna think I was a great guy. I'm gonna be dead, and I'm also not gonna have to commit. It's gonna be great. Everybody works out for everybody.
Win-win.
It's a win-win suicide pact, really. Yeah.
All right, so they're trapped there without the mini sub, and then I just wrote, he goes to do some hero shit, and they have a long goodbye look. And then I said, can she not help? I mean, I know she's pregnant, but she's just going to stand there and wait.
Mikey works alone.
If you think about it, she's the person who should have gone. And I realize she's pregnant, and it was the 80s, but he is a pilot of a sub.
Yeah.
She graduated the Navy SEALs. Like they are the best in water.
I know.
They can hold their breath forever. They are trained for this sort of thing.
Yeah.
And he's like, sit down, woman. I'm gonna handle this.
Yeah, being pregnant does not incapacitate you.
Counterpoint, he was the only one who could drive the sub back.
Oh yeah.
That's okay. You know what? Mikey, that is fair.
If Michael Myers can figure out how to drive a car in Halloween, she can figure out how to drive a sub.
Well, you know that
It's
women.
like just a steering
That's
wheel.
probably part of her naval training. She's a Navy officer.
All right, so
man.
now he goes underwater and he swims through the room Richardson died in. And so back to the doctor and Collins, and they're talking. This is when she starts praying. She's like, please, God, I have to have somebody to raise this baby with. Can't do it on my own because I'm just a woman. Please let him come back.
I mean, but honestly, I do think that Dr. Bueller is sort of laying the groundwork for if Captain Mikey dies, but they do get out. She's sort of like, you know what, you can come stay with me and raise the baby with me. Because she's like, will you ever come visit me at my farm in wherever she lives?
Yeah.
We could sit on the porch and hang out with the dog or whatever. And that's the moment I knew Dr. Bueller ain't making out of this alive.
Yep, exactly.
But I thought it was nice. I thought it was super sweet.
I did too. Maybe it's like if this Greg Evigan thing doesn't work out, you know.
Yep.
Wouldn't they be a great couple, though? I mean, they're the two most competent people, aside from the captain, in this whole...
Captain Mikey's competent.
I mean, I guess so. Yeah.
He's serviceable.
Yes, he's
Serviceable is correct.
That's the word.
Yes.
Yeah. But so they hear something, and so they open the door, and all the water starts
Why
pouring
did
in.
they open the door?
I don't know. Why?
I mean, in all fairness to them, they thought it was Captain Mikey coming back because he couldn't get through and needed some air or something like that. But it is spectacularly stupid.
Yes.
It reminded me of like Land Shark
Yes,
on
that's what I was going to
SNL.
say. Land
And it was
Shark.
like tap, tap, tap. Yeah, Land Shark, Telegram. Like it was like that sort of thing. And they're like, let's go ahead and open it. And literally the thing that saves Colin's life is the fact that she's standing in front of the door and takes the full brunt of the water.
Yeah.
So it pushes her all the way back to where the decontamination chamber is. And the Dr. Bueller is standing right there by the door. And then I guess the now shrunk down Sebastian the Crab is small enough to get through the door. And he's like, sha-la-la-la-la-la, don't be shy. I'm going to stab you now. Kill the girl.
Whoa,
Wow,
whoa.
wow.
I like the battle between Dr. Bueller and the crab.
Me
yeah,
too.
it's the best song of the whole thing.
And unlike the chef in The Little Mermaid, she actually does kill the crab.
She does, yeah. Les Poissons. I love that song. I'm going to sing the whole thing right now. Zut alors, I have missed one.
Well, and that is what the doctor says. And then she kills it with electricity.
Right.
But my favorite part of this whole scene is Captain Mikey's face popping up in the decompression chamber to watch the fight.
And because there is another ticking clock, because you can't get into the decompression chamber for like 30 seconds because it has to pressurize or whatever. So how did he already get into it?
The sub's on the other side.
I know, but that means he already had to pressurize it to get into it. So it's already at that pressure that they can get into it.
That's why he was so confused when he's in the window. He's like, I don't know.
You just open the door.
I think that he and Sebastian were working together the whole time. And he knew
That's
that
what it
the
was.
only way that Collins would agree to marry him or even tell him that she was pregnant was if he was a big hero and not just driving this sub shack around all the time.
Jen, I think it's much darker.
I think he was trying to get away from the commitment.
Yeah, exactly. I think he was trying to be the only person out left alive.
Well, that's
And
true.
he was just like, listen, I understand the decompression chamber is already pressurized, but I don't know why the door won't open, honey. Just have fun with the.
I guess
have fun
I'm
with
just
Sebastian
bad
trying
at
to kill
opening
you.
it.
My Mikey. No.
I mean, in all fairness, the movie does posit a world in which that door won't open, even though he wouldn't have been able to get into it unless it was already pressurized.
He looked
Right.
pissed, and also it's already established that he really loves the baby. Okay, that is
Yes. Some would say more than he loves the woman that he's pregnantized. Yes.
Some might say he doesn't know how to love, and so he latches on to something that makes him feel like a good guy.
Oh my God, Mikey. Is it
Jen,
too
that's
close
not
to
you.
home?
That's enough, Jen.
Hey, I read Men Who Can't Love.
we need to talk about the podcast right now.
Oh, Mikey.
No, that's not you, Mikey. That's Greg Evigan.
Sure. I just had like a realization. I just had like a moment.
Oh, no, Mikey.
Oh my God. So anyway, they both get in the decompression chamber.
They do, yeah. So the doctor dies, yeah. Dr. Bueller dies, and then they get in the decompression chamber together. And then there's like a 4-hour passage of time where they fall asleep. I don't know if I'd be able to sleep if the thing we were in is gonna blow up at a
Right.
certain amount of time.
Oh, yeah.
And there's like a super narrow window in which you could escape without dying.
Yep.
I would not be able to sleep, and they're woken up by the alarm of the pressurization saying that they've reached decompressurization or whatever.
Yeah, they could have passed that time in another way.
Yeah. She can't get double pregnant.
And maybe that's why he fell asleep.
Look, you are really tired in your first trimester. So,
Or right after sex. They're now pressurized and can go to the surface. So they get in the sub, and they're like trying to get away. And I loved I think we're going to make it. And then Colin's going, I know we're going to make it.
he's like, no, he's more like, I've made a huge mistake.
Don't
my
worry. He
God.
gets one last chance to kill himself before he has to commit to this family.
And
Oh,
boy,
and
does he try.
Yeah, because they reach the surface and they launch the raft that they're gonna literally row back from the middle of the ocean in with no supplies.
Right.
And as she gets in the raft and as he's getting in, and this is the one jump scare that literally made me jump. It got me because as he steps like to get into this raft that they're gonna die in 2 days after this movie ends, Sebastian the crab pops out and tries to bite him.
Yeah.
I was laying in bed watching this movie with Natalie, and I jumped, and she was like, "Are you okay?"
Because that wasn't scary at all.
She was honestly on her phone most of the time because she was bored.
Yeah, I hear you, Natalie.
Yeah, because I was super committed. So like I was like, "Oh God," and she was like, "Really?"
Well, so this thing doesn't have to depressurize, or I guess he just like latched onto the side. So this thing is now at the
It's
top.
the crustacean shell, Jen. It provides more pressure protection.
So
patented.
Captain Mikey heroically pushes the raft away, climbs onto the sub, and starts emptying out all the fuel into the water around him. And he takes out the flare gun and he makes eye contact with her like, yeah, I'm not actually going to marry you.
Yeah.
Never thought we would make it. I have to burn now.
I know.
Why do I feel like Mikey has plans to do something like this if something like this happens?
Well, okay, did you notice that at one point she's like 2 feet away from the submarine, and then when he's about to light on fire, she's like 20 feet away?
Oh, yeah. You mean the scene that they shot where she's actually not in the water at all, and
Yeah.
that's literally a projection screen that she's not. And you can tell because she's not floating anymore.
Right.
She's static. She's in the water, not moving at all, and it's just the screen behind her.
The suspense.
She's suspended.
And she's
in
reaching
suspense.
out to Captain Mikey and then he blows up the sub.
Mikey, it's so suspenseful, even the ocean stood still.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh. But so then he lights himself on fire, and the crustaceans
Yeah.
and Sebastian, and they all die in a fiery
Yeah.
mess. And the sub explodes.
It does.
And she's suddenly very far away from it, so she's safe.
Yes.
And then she's trying to decide if she's sad or not, too.
Yeah, because honestly, she may have sort of dodged the bullet. Let's just like think through
I
what
know.
she's done. She got pregnant and did not tell the father she got pregnant. She was planning on getting reassigned and having the kid and just never letting him know. She honestly, her internal monologue may be a lot of like, oh shit, I really hope he dies.
I
Oh
know.
God, I cannot raise a child with
She's
this
like,
man.
wow. That was a crazy 6 hours.
But then surprise, because he is swimming. He's totally
pops up.
unhurt behind her.
Yeah, he swam
he's
further
fine.
away than he needed to.
And in the Jenn cut of this movie, a shark jumps up and
That
would have been amazing.
He gets
Why do you hate
Samuel
Captain
Jackson.
Mikey?
Oh man, that's amazing.
I don't hate Captain Mikey. I just, every time anybody's in the water, I'm like, there are fucking sharks in there. Yeah.
He was gonna swim away, but it was too far, so he had to come back for the raft.
He's like, all right, I guess I'll marry
Yeah,
you.
had they been close to the shore, he would have swam to the shore and then just run away.
Right.
You see him just scampering away into the woods.
Yeah, so he climbs on the raft and he's like, I may just be a sub driver, but I know that fire can't burn in water.
He might as well have said that.
Like when Mikey said that was actual dialogue, even though it was not good dialogue, I was like, of course he said that.
Exactly. Like, I believed you. Yeah. I was like, oh my
He did
God.
not say that. They just start paddling in some sort of direction.
Yeah, they paddle
Yeah.
in a indiscriminate direction hoping for land.
And that's the movie.
Roll the credits.
So having seen the movie, having talked about the movie, final thoughts, what do you guys think?
It's a classic.
Wow, that is a hot take.
Movie Hall of Fame.
I would say that I wish we could have watched this all together.
Yes.
Because I feel like it would have been more fun. This is something you need to take your friends and watch.
Exactly.
And
So
laugh and talk about while you're watching it.
when you guys are able to stop quarantining, get together in groups and watch this movie. Do not watch this movie alone. And honestly, just Mystery Science Theater the fuck out of it, and you'll have so much fun. Is it a good movie? No.
No.
But it's fun to watch in a group, I bet.
Isn't it an allegory for my relationships? Yes.
Yeah, honestly, Mikey, I am surprised you're not a mental wreck after watching this movie.
Right. You're not
because
Jenn.
it's too close to home for you. But I'm glad you enjoyed it. Jen, what did you think about it?
It was fine. There was nothing in it that actively pissed me off. I just didn't really care what was happening. There, like I wanted a lot more of the monster or like the stakes, but there's so much like plot that really slows it down. I think the performances are not great, although I do love Miguel Ferrer, but it's like when it just every time the monster, it just is so slow. It's like, what the fuck are we even doing here? So yeah, I did not really care for it. I have more fun talking about it with you guys than I have.
I had more fun talking about it,
Exactly.
yeah.
And this movie is something that should be experienced together or not at all.
Yeah, don't try to watch this on your own for
no.
good. Like watch The Abyss or watch, Underwater.
Yeah, there are much better movies that are this movie.
Right, and that's part of the problem. It's like I've seen better versions of this story.
Yeah,
Right. Mikey
That
movies are meant to be together.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's talk box office then. You guys game for that?
Yeah.
Yep.
All right. So I couldn't find any like super reputable information about the budget of this movie because it's only mentioned in one place on Wikipedia. And I'll just go ahead and tell you it was $8 million is what Wikipedia says. And Wikipedia is not super
Okay.
reliable, but it says it was $8 million. What do you guys think this movie made in its opening weekend? And it was only domestically. So what do you guys think it made in its opening weekend?
$300,000.
Yeah, I don't know. $50.
$50 or $300,000. Both of those are way low. It came out on January 13th, maybe a Friday the 13th. I'm not sure. I'll have to look that up. 1989. It was 8th the first week it came out, and it made $3 million in its opening weekend. It's pretty
Okay.
respectable, but $8 million budget, only making $3 million. That's a bad sign. It was beat by Rain Man, Twins, Beaches.
Oh, love Twins and Beaches.
Yeah, right. The Accidental Tourist, Working Girl, The Naked Gun, and Mississippi Burning. So it was beat by all 7 of those movies.
So a lot of really good movies.
Yeah.
It was beat by actual movies. What a surprise.
Right. It beat Dirty Rotten Scoundrels and Oliver and Company. Like all of those movies, save Working Girl and Accidental Tourist, which I have not seen, are great movies.
Yeah, and like the premise of this movie doesn't sound bad. Like it's the execution of it that's bad. So I could imagine like watching the trailer and wanting to go see this too,
Yeah.
Yeah.
So at the end of its domestic run, and again, it was only domestically released, what do you guys think it made at the box office?
10 million.
7 million.
Mikey's closer. It was like just over $8 million at the box office. So,
Well, that's good. So it made its money back.
I mean, if it spent zero money on marketing, it did barely make its money back.
hey, look, he was on My Two Dads at the time. That's all the marketing you need.
Yeah, it
okay?
probably did a lot of home video stuff, okay? There's a lot of home video stuff back then.
So that's box office. So Jen, do you got some fun facts for us?
I do. Although with movies that are kind of lesser known, I don't have a ton of fun facts.
Movies that are from the 80s and lesser known. Like, you really have your work cut out for you on these. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and we already talked about the Eurypterid, the sea scorpion thing.
Right.
Okay, so the screenwriter from this was, his name is Louis Abernathy, and he was working on this. At the same time, his good friend James Cameron was working on The Abyss.
What?
Oh, no.
Yeah, so they kind of gotten a little fight. I haven't seen The Abyss in a long time, and I don't really remember a whole lot about
but
it.
But it's much better than this.
We got to watch The Abyss.
But how similar is the plot?
Not similar at all.
Not at all. Not at all.
Okay.
It's very different.
There's some stuff with nuclear weapons, and like The Abyss is like a way better movie in every way imaginable.
DeepStar 6 is like the made-for-TV Lifetime movie version of The Abyss.
Yeah.
Well, and so I think that James Cameron and Louis Abernathy, they were friends, but they ended up kind of getting into an argument or a disagreement because, like, James Cameron was like, "Why are you ripping off my movie?" I don't know a ton of the details about that, but it was contentious.
Yes.
And so in 1989, this was one of 4 underwater horror movies released. So we have
well, The Abyss was one of them, right?
The Abyss, Leviathan, which was the movie Mikey thought we were going to be watching. And there's another movie called Lords of the Deep that I haven't heard of.
Yeah.
But
oh my gosh, we should have just done a month of 1989 underwater horror.
Okay, so Kane Hodder. Do we know who Kane Hodder is?
I've heard that name.
He was one of the people that played Jason in Friday the 13th
yeah.
movies.
Okay,
he's a stunt coordinator.
Okay.
He was when we watched Behind the Mask. He's one of the like shout or the cameos at the very beginning.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, but he's like a really well-known stunt man. He was the stunt coordinator for this movie.
Okay.
Sean S. Cunningham was the producer for this movie, and he was also the producer of a lot of the Friday the 13th movies, including, I think, the original.
All right.
So that's probably where that connection came in. He was also producer on The Last House on the Left.
Really?
And
I mean, we haven't seen that, but I've heard about that movie.
Right, yeah, it's on the list. And that was Wes Craven's first movie.
Oh, okay, okay.
And he was also the producer for House 2.
No shit.
Yeah.
Oh my God, This guy is cranking out Mikey movies.
That's true. Yeah,
I think we're the only podcast that's a fan of this guy's work, but I love it.
Hey, look, I love Friday the 13th. That's one of my favorites.
I need a list of all of this guy's films. I need to see all of them.
Well, honestly, Mikey, that is a ride I will go on with you.
So the monster, they built a large monster for shooting. This was a practical effect.
Yes.
And they needed 8 people to maneuver it, plus a stunt man.
Oh my God. I feel so bad for all 8 of those people and the stunt man.
I know. And that's probably why there's not very much of the monster in this movie.
Well, it looks horrible.
It does look
Although
horrible,
I did love that on the top part of the try mouth, because it had like 3 openings for the mouth, that it had 2 little eyes.
Yeah.
It did have cute little crab eyes.
Because it's Sebastian. I love it.
And that's the thing, like with Jaws, like you don't see the shark for so long, but when you actually see him, he looks really scary.
Terrifying, yeah.
When you finally see this thing, you're like, what the fuck is that thing? Is that Sebastian?
Well, that's a Mikey movie because I'd be like, just my luck, murdered by a really ridiculous, dumb thing.
Right, like what, a dog glowworm or something?
Yeah.
Oh, God.
And those are my fun facts.
Well, thank you for your fun facts, Jen.
You're
Let's hit them with the scary scale.
Hey, listeners, our scary scale is a scale we use to rank how scary we think the movie is. It's not a ranking of the quality of the film. It's how scared we were when we watched it today. Our 1 example is Ghostbusters. Our 10 example is Texas Chainsaw Massacre. All right, Todd, what you got?
I want so badly to give this a 1, but that last jump scare did make me jump. So I am embarrassed to admit this is a 2 for me.
Oh.
Yeah, I was wondering about that.
That's the only scare that got me, though.
Do I calculate in the commitment issues?
Yeah. Hey, I calculate in my weird shit with movies.
Yeah, I will say that Jen's scores always have projection factored in.
Yeah. Hey, yeah, that's part of the scary scale.
This Mikey's ready to face his crabs and go and get a baby. So I'm going to give it a 1.
Oh my God, look out, world.
Oh, God, I love it.
All right, I am also going to give it a 1, although not for that. Not for that reason.
I think it's safe to say that Jen has no problem with commitment, having been married
yeah.
for almost 9 years. Actually, 9 years by the time this airs, right?
Yeah.
Congratulations. And
Congratulations.
Yeah, as of yesterday, I
2
think.
kids.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So
That's true.
there you go.
Yeah. Yeah, Corey did not blow up the submarine after I told him.
I love it.
There's a second heartbeat in your shoulder. Is that a baby?
And that's a scary scale.
Well, all right. This week, you guys made me watch DeepStar 6. What are you guys making me watch next week?
Todd, we're not making you watch anything.
No, we're not making you watch anything. Yeah,
It
Todd.
is listener request week.
It is, yes. So our theme was aquatic horror, and you motherfuckers picked Ghost Ship, and I am so excited.
Oh, my God. Oh, I thought you were mad. I thought you were legit mad about it. Okay.
This is like Mikey month number 2. I love it.
Really?
Oh no, yeah. Hey, I'm sorry I called you motherfuckers. You're awesome. I just never know what you guys are gonna pick. Like every time, we always place bets on what it is because we honestly, whatever you guys vote for, that's what we watch, and we're always like, oh, I think it's gonna be this, I think it's gonna be that. And you guys picked Ghost Ship. I think we all thought it was gonna be The Shallows.
I thought it was going to be the Meg. I
that's
texted
right.
you guys
Yeah,
like, it's definitely going to be the Meg. Because that was like the biggest box office hit, I think, out of all of them. But no, like the Ghost
You guys picked Ghost Ship.
sort of crushed it. Yeah.
I'm here for it.
Yeah,
I love
whatever,
Ghost
man.
Ship,
We'll
and
do
I
Ghost
love
Ship
all
is
of
a
you
classic.
guys. Thanks for voting in this. I'm sorry I called you motherfuckers, but it was meant in love.
Oh, well, all right, guys. Your homework for next week is to watch Ghost Ship.
Yeah.
So watch that ship. It's from 2002, right? Something like that?
Yeah, and one of the best opening scenes ever.
People have been saying the opening scene's going to scare the shit out of me.
It's fucking insane. Yeah, it's very much like 13 Ghosts.
Okay,
kind
all
of
right.
that
Well,
thing.
cool.
And I think they picked it because they knew it would probably scare you
Well, thanks a lot,
because of
guys.
the aesthetics.
Mikey, do you have a review ready for us to read?
I do have a review, I think.
Well, while you figure that out, I'm going to say, if you want Mikey to read your review, leave a 5-star review on Apple iTunes, leave a little text review so he has something to read, and then he will read it on the podcast. And if you want to give us like a fun accent, and then maybe give an instructional video of your boyfriend who actually has that accent in the Facebook group so that we can know exactly how Mikey missed the mark, please do that. That was so awesome. I think it was Allison that posted that.
I apologize.
Oh, it was so good.
Gosh.
It was so good, man.
I don't have any prep time. That's fine. Whatever. Okay, so the Peterson family.
Wait, the whole family?
That's what it says.
Awesome,
The
I love
Peterson
it.
family says, love this pod.
Oh,
Totally
thanks.
stumbled upon this podcast by accident and have been absolutely loving it. As an essential worker during the time of COVID, I've been in desperate need of podcasts to fill my work days.
understandable.
It makes me laugh and I get to enjoy horror movies without actually having to watch them. 5 stars.
Well, thank you so much for that
Aw.
awesome review and the essential work that you do.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, that's awesome. I do know a couple of people who listen to the show because they're too scared to watch the movies.
Yeah, I know a lot.
so-
People like reach out to me on Twitter and stuff and say like, I don't even watch these movies. I just think the podcast is hilarious.
Yeah. Thanks for telling me what happened so I don't have to watch it.
Exactly. So they're like, I have a bunch of horror friends and I want to know what happens in these movies. So I just listen to the podcast and never watch them, which is what I would do if I found this podcast and wasn't on it.
Right.
So I totally get that. So we are a member of the Consequence Podcast Network. So if you would do us a
Yes,
favor
we
and
are.
check out some of their awesome shows like This Must Be the Gig, Kyle Meredith With, The Halloweenies, The Losers Club, The Fifth Dimension.
Ghost Echoes, The Assembly, The Opus.
Yeah, check them out, guys. They're great.
Yeah,
And also,
there's lots of really great stuff.
there are. And make sure you check out their awesome website, Consequence of Sound. And if you want to check out our shit, go to horrorvirgin.com for Jen's blog and links to the merch store. If you want to follow us on socials, we are at Horror Virgin. And if you want to also follow us individually, please do. Mikey is at mrandolph24. Jen is at Jen with 2 N's for Ratu, and I am at Todd J. Awesome. And if you want to help financially support the show, please do by going to patreon.com/horrorvirgin, where we have a lot of great levels and a lot of great things. But next week, we have a listener request, and all of the levels get to both suggest and vote on that. So if you join at any level, you're involved in that at least. And there's a bunch of other great content the more you spend. You guys know how that works. But if you can't afford to financially support the show or just simply don't want to, but still want daily free content, check out our Facebook group at facebook.com/groups/horrorvirgin, or we link it every week. So just check for that on socials and then click through and join. It's great. And if you don't like Facebook, I get it. Facebook is the worst. I hate it
Yeah.
too. I literally only post inside the Facebook group now. And Jen has like a perfect pro hack.
Yeah, if you just don't have any friends.
She means on Facebook, not like in general.
Now on Facebook. Yeah, I just created a different account and I have a policy that I don't friend anyone. So if you friend requested me, that's why. And the reason is because I don't see anything but what's in the group.
Yeah.
Which is awesome because the group is amazing and it's moderated.
Yeah.
And I don't see people's random posts.
Exactly.
You know?
So guys, check out the Facebook group.
All right, guys. Well, that's going to be it for us. I am Jen.
And I'm Mikey.
And I'm your horror virgin, Todd.
Have a great week and stay safe.
Yeah.
During the pandemic, civil unrest, and all the bad stuff that's happening.
Yeah, I forgot to say thank you for joining us, but for real, thank you.
Sebastian Nerds.
The end makes sense because the crustacean got cooked by the fire, so they have enough food to make it to shore.
Holy shit, Mikey, you're right. They literally eat crab all the way to shore.
They do.
It
And the
makes
water's
sense.
salty, so it's flavor.
All right, guys. I think we fucking nailed it.
Consequence Podcast Network.